everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to be making some fossils. Okay, because we're closing out Dino-Vember. Okay, and I thought this would be a nice fun little activity for us to do. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Some of the things you're going to need are salt, flour, water. Okay, you're going to need about a cup of water. So if you want to get that ready before we get started, that would be awesome. So that way you're all set once we start mixing stuff together. Okay. The kits at the library also had little dinosaurs. Okay, we're going to use these to print the little impressions in our fossils. Okay. You can also use anything that you kind of want to press a picture of into our dough. Okay. Now, real fossils are a little different, but these are kind of a fun little activity that is, it's basically the same idea of something being pressed into something soft and hardening and kind of making like a picture. Okay. I'll show you kind of what they're going to look like. These are some simple ones I made with just kind of like a little fork pattern to be like footprints. Okay. But the ones we're going to make with the actual dinosaur toys are going to look a little different. Okay. Now, each batch is going to make a pretty sizable amount of dough. I got about 6 or 7 circles out of the dough when I made it. Okay. You might get more or less depending on how big you make your circles. Okay. All right. If you are just tuning in, we are going to make some dinosaur fossils. It's a basic salt dough recipe that just requires salt, flour, and about a cup of water. Okay. And like I said, anything that you want to kind of make a fossil picture of works, but in the kits at the library, they did have like the little dinosaurs. Okay. It's also helpful to have something to cut out the circles, either a cookie cutter or a glass, okay, and something to roll out our dough, okay. I just have a big cup here to be my little roller because I don't have a real rolling pin, okay. All right, are we ready to get started? Okay, everybody got their ingredients? Awesome. All right. First, we're going to add our salt. Okay. We're going to need about 1 cup of salt. I'm just going to measure here right over the bowl. Okay. 1 cup of salt. There we go. Now, I'm going to add the flour. Okay. We have 2 cups of flour to add. 1, 2. Measuring for activities like this is actually a really good math practice because think about how fractions are involved when you're measuring different amounts. Okay, half a cup, 1 cup, half a tablespoon, whole tablespoon. That's all a kind of little fun way to learn a little math. Okay, so I have my salt and my flour in the bowl. Okay, all I'm going to do is I'm going to stir them up. Okay. All right, everybody good? Flour and salt mixed together. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to add the water. All right, like I said, 1 cup of water is about what you're going to need. You may not need all of it. Okay. So I recommend kind of adding it a little bit at a time. You can also add food coloring to your dough if you'd like. Experiment with trying to make it brown, like dirt, or you can just do any other color you want to. Okay. That's kind of a little fun little addition you can do if you'd like. Okay. So we're going to gradually add our water until we kind of have a thick dough that will roll out for us. So you don't want to add too much water because then it'll be too mushy. There we go, add a little more. You can also get in there with your hands too, get messy. Okay. I think I'm going to do that to get mine to mix up a little more because it does kind of start sticking to the spoon. And that's the point where it's kind of a little easier and a little more fun just to mix with your hands. Okay. All right. So now I have my dough. Okay. See how it's kind of thick there? It's all mixed together. That last bit of flour in the bottom of the bowl. Okay. All right. So there's my dough. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll it out. Okay. I'm going to use wax paper so that way it doesn't stick to the table. Okay. You might also want to add a little tiny bit of flour to your rolling surface. Okay. Just kind of so it doesn't stick as well. Okay. All right. So I've got my dough. I'm going to roll it out. Okay. So if you have a rolling pin, great. If you don't, a cup will work just fine. You're going to roll it until you have about, so it's about like a ½ inch thick. Okay. All right. Add a little bit of flour to my rolling makeshift rolling pin too. There we go. So that doesn't stick. All right. Once your dough is all rolled out, you're going to need to cut out your circles. Okay? I'm going to use a cup to cut mine out. Okay? But if you have cookie cutters, you can use cookie cutters as well. You can make different shapes if you like. Alright, so you see I've got my circle. That's about how thick it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plop it on my cookie tray. Okay. These will need to dry out after we imprint our dinosaurs in them. Okay. They can either be baked in the oven or they can just sit out to dry out. The oven is probably the quicker and easier way to do it. Okay. When I made my little batch here, I just cooked them at 350 for about an hour. Okay, but you can keep checking on them, check and see, you know, as if they're getting too brown or anything, or if they look like they're drying out. You want them to kind of just be cooked enough that they're solid. Okay. All right. So now I have my dinosaur. I'm going to imprint. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to push it into my dough. Not all the way down, just maybe about halfway down. And it's going to leave a little picture of our dinosaurs. I like the way the little feathery top part is showing up. Okay. All right. And you'll see I've got my fossils. Okay. And like I said, you can just bake them in the oven until they harden, about an hour, or you can leave them to sit out and dry. Okay. You can do, like I said, different shapes. You can do different things in your fossils, make fossils of different objects. Okay. Experiment with that. Okay. You can make different colored dough, except with adding food coloring. Okay. And so you'll probably get about 5 or 6 fossils based on this recipe. Okay. So I'm just going to roll this out a little more and do 2 more fossils just so I use up all my dough. There we are. This also is a fun way to make ornaments for the holidays. Okay, it's the same basic recipe, circular shape. Instead of just pressing stuff in like we're doing with the fossils, you would just paint onto your ornaments. Okay, and you'd want to poke a little hole in the top so you make sure you can tie like a ribbon or a string through it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to imprint my last 2 fossils. And there we are. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this activity today. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will post the link where I got this recipe in the event as well. Okay, so that way you can save it and have the recipe for later on. Okay. We do have some fun programs coming up. We have a decorating a holiday bulb program. That will be Wednesday. And the following week, we have a program where we are making egg carton trees. So if you can join us for those, I would love to have you there. I'd love to have you watch. Thanks, as always, for joining me today. I hope everybody has a great day and a terrific Thanksgiving weekend. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.